welcome back to another episode of 12-Inch Figure Fanatic. Today we're going to take a look at Mars Toys' Mr. Jordan from Wolf of Wall Street. Been looking forward to this figure because he is one of my favorite characters from one of my favorite movies. It didn't hurt that Margot Robbie was also in that film. Let's take a closer look at this figure right now. All right, so looks like on the front here we got "Sell me this pen." This is a famous line from the film. This is when he was doing his presentation in a motivational speaker series that he was in, and I believe the film opened up with that scene, but it also ended with the same. So the back has two different displays of the figure, one with the microphone, one with his hands in his pocket. From the look of the box, the suit cut is very nice, and that's one of the things I'm interested in looking at, is if it's true to the production photos, which, as we've known from history, that's not always the case. All right. Let's take this off. So, the head sculpt is pretty good. You could tell it's him, but it's almost both slightly too aged and slightly overweight. The width of the head sculpt is a little too much. From the side, it's still lacking, but not as much as from the front. And from this angle, it looks, once again, still lacking. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's good enough, but it's definitely not priceless. But the suit itself is just like the photos, nicely cut. It could be creased a little bit better. Some of you, if you get this figure, you might want to go in and do that again yourselves, because it looks like it was a weak done crease. Socks, the shoes, it's one sculpt. It's not a shoe into a foot. Not really weathered on the bottom, but nicely sculpted there. And then you've got this sort of decor here, this metal decor. This is sculpted as well. It doesn't have a belt. And the tie is, like most ties we see. Excuse me. This is a Windsor knot. It's a wide knot. True to the film, because he wore Windsor knots in the film. And he's got this lovely watch, which is rubber, but it's got some detailing to it. So you could get a good readout there. It's very nice. It's also got the wedding band there. That is sculpted on. I did a review recently of a figure, and the rings were actually metal, and they were removable. It was amazing. I've never seen that before. So the inside of the suit is properly tailored as well, and the material is inside as well. This has a weird fringe to it on this part, but notice how thin the material is. So they used very thin pinstripe material, and then maybe they used some kind of a glue mixture to get some stiffness to it. But it's nicely done, but it just needs to be pressed back a little bit. The hair could have more depth in the painting, but the sculpt itself is good enough. Let's see what else this figure comes with. All right, so you got several hands, and let's see if they paid good attention to detailing them. And it looks like they are painted a little bit, not too much. They didn't use the speckle effect that the Hot Toys tends to do. But they are very, very nicely sculpted and slightly painted. Here we have a bottle of Montebello Brut Champagne. Very nice. Just a solid sculpt with some stickers on it, basically, but detailed. Looks like a champagne flute, but it seems very small in scale. Watch, let's get a hand over here. So if you look at that, I don't know. To me, that glass seems a little small. Yeah. Anyways, then we have this, let's get that out of there. Large microphone and microphone stand. So it just kind of rests in there like a regular microphone does. Just a single sculpt, not much to it. It's not painted or anything. There's no foam on the end. And then it's got this wraparound wire that goes all the way to the bottom here. So it looks like, yeah, the microphone wire actually goes into the back of the microphone. Yeah, just like that. And then you could unravel it as well. There's some photographs I saw of him with the microphone in his hand, and you could unravel it and have it just kind of dangling next to the stand. Hollow at the bottom, all plastic. We have a bunch of goodies here. So here's his belt. He just wasn't wearing it. That's interesting. I've never seen that before, where they just have it on the side. Usually they go through the extra step of putting it on the figure. But it is a metal buckle, and it is kind of leatherette. It seems like a better quality than some others I've seen. Belts tend to fray pretty easily, historically. And then a bunch of tiny things, my goodness. All right, so we've got a bunch of stacks of money, and they are double-sided. So if you undo these bundles, you could just have single bills floating around. They could have done a better job with how they wrap the stacks. It just looks like masking tape versus like colorful labels that say hundreds, you know, like you see in the banks. I have a few like that. And then we have some pill bottles, and the caps don't come off. They're this is just a single sculpt. And then we have some, what is it called? Lemon. Yeah, I forget how they pronounced it, but this was the famous, very expired pills that caused them to act like fools in the film. Once again, just a kind of a single sculpt. The cap doesn't come off. I love that they have this, though. You've got a plastic pen. Very important, iconic to the film, if you've seen the film. Single sculpt. And then you've got all these very easy to lose pills. Oh, man. Yeah, and I can't tell if they're, so if you look, you can't tell from looking at this, but they do have a line through them. So they, like the actual pill, they've got a line in the center for splitting them. I believe this is made out of plastic, but very nice that they included that, although very easy to lose. Yeah. Then we've got some Ray-Bans. There's got some translucence here, so you can see the eyes a little bit through them. And then it says Ray-Ban on there. Very cool. Yeah. They got some flex to them. Obviously they could break like, you know, sunglasses usually do, but they've got some flex to prevent it. And then we've got the stand. It looks like they got a single sticker on there, and you just kind of press the stand in through there. There we go. So it's sort of a bubble in there. I got to stick a pin in there and get that out. So it looks like that when they applied the decal, they left some air in there. But it's got Jordan Belfort on there. And that's made out of metal and etched. Very nice. Oh, kind of a weird font. I'm not used to seeing that font for a stand like this. Usually they use like a Times New Roman bold or something like that. But the stand itself is pretty standard. And anything else? No, that's pretty much it. So let me set this figure up and give you my final thoughts. All right, so here it is all set up. One of the things that I'll mention here, and it didn't occur to me until I was starting to put this figure on display, in the film he was very animated and very expressive, and yet it only includes one head sculpt, and that head sculpt is just sort of this resting face, right? Especially considering that you have the microphone in his hand, it would seem to me like his mouth should be open for that, and maybe he's making a very mean or very reddish. You remember when he got red and veiny, his eyes started watering, he was so passionate in the microphone. You don't really get that from this display with the head sculpt the way it is. So I would have ideally had an extra head sculpt to work with, one with a little bit open mouth, more expressive. Second, the wire that's in the microphone is not long enough. As you can see, it sort of ends right here, so it kind of dangles at the base of the figure if you have the microphone up this high. But also it doesn't stay in the microphone that easily, so you'd have to probably glue that in a little bit. I love that it comes with these accessories, especially the tiny little pills. I mean, that's just amazing. Overall, besides the things that I mentioned already, it's an excellent figure. The fact that it comes with a base and it's a labeled base, that goes a long way with me if you watch my videos. Overall, I'm going to give this figure an 8.5. Those items that I mentioned, and of course what I mentioned at the beginning with the head sculpt just being slightly off, just very slightly. Not so much that it really takes off points, but I do notice that it's lacking a little bit. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. See you for the next one.